And just like that, we meet back in the kitchen. Guys, it's Wednesday, September the 3rd. Had something on my hand. I don't know what it was. It just felt a little funny. But anyhow, we won't be cooking today. We're actually going to be cleaning. You're thinking cleaning? We're going to be cleaning eggs. You're like, I'm clicking off. Don't hit the pause. Don't exit out. I got to get a little sip. But today is egg cleaning day. And the reason why I wanted to do this video was because, and I believe it was our friend Miss Ruby. I believe it was Miss Ruby that asked me on our weekend vlogs video when I was talking about doing away with the Scotch-Brite stainless steel scrubbers. And I had made a comment, this is what I use. And the Scotch-Brite stayed in this bowl. It's just a metal coffee cup. And I was exchanging it for the stainless steel cloths, which is what I did. And I guess that sparked the question, well, how do you clean your eggs? And I'm human, and I thought, well, everybody knows how to clean eggs, right? And then I got to thinking, maybe I clean my eggs different. So that's what we're going to do. Now I'm gonna give you a little backstory before you see the steps that I take to cleaning my eggs. A lot of times you'll see these eggs sit in a wooden bamboo bowl on the counter. Well, since it's the holidays and all, I moved that out of the way. And this is the basket that I always keep my overflow eggs. Well, I've made a spot in the pantry. And so as soon as I enter the pantry, this is sitting on a shelf. So I won't be keeping eggs on the counter any longer. I'll just house them in the basket. So yes, I do keep my eggs at room temperature for a week. Then what I do is I take the ones that I've collected and I do wash them because I want to gift them. My daughter gets them, and it just makes it easier for others as well as for me to wash them, house them into the icebox, the refrigerator. So I can use them, the family can use them, and they don't have to worry about washing the eggs because I do boil a dozen eggs a week. And this is how I store my boiled eggs. And a dozen will fill this container up, and we will go through those in a week's time. Whether it's an egg salad, just eating it by itself with tuna fish, we go through a lot of boiled eggs because it's high protein and I have to have a lot of protein. So just Buddy and I go through enormous amount of eggs. But how I clean my eggs, it's what's gonna be a little different. But there's a reason to my madness. And that reasoning began 3 years ago. Well, we're going on 3 years this November. When I wanted to get my license, not the cottage, but the actual state and federal license for Miss Lippy's Bayou Blends. We built a shed. Well, the shed was built, but we enclosed it. And we named it the Sugar Shack. Well, I had to take classes. I had to take courses excuse me, we're just gonna stop there. I know now I must have dripped some coffee. That's what I was touching. Okay. Don't hit pause, don't leave me. Just stay with me. But you need to know some back history. So when I was applying for my state and federal, I also had to take some food courses because there was products that I wanted to sell. I wanted to sell them legally with a stamp. Even though it's home produced, it's now LLC business produced outside of the dwelling, outside of the actual square box that we reside in. Because legally, you cannot produce, make, food to sell in a home that has an animal. Let's say you don't have an animal. It's still not within the safety guidelines going for a license, not a cottage license. But a cottage and a food license through the state, there is one common denominator, and that's some of the ingredients. So let's say you make bread, you make pies, and you want to sell them. That's where that gray area comes in. And you have a cottage. You better be very mindful of how you're cleaning the eggs. I have to be mindful if I want to sell breads, pastries, because I have the license to do it, of the eggs that's going in. So you see that little gray area. You think, oh, I got a cottage, I'm safe. No, you're not. Even with a state license. You're really not, but because there's always that little percent. You know what I mean? So anyway, with these classes that I took, I had to take a course, or it was embedded within the course, about eggs. Properly cleaning farm-raised eggs. I have what they call farm-raised eggs, backyard chickens, homestead chickens, however you want to label it, we have chickens. So I got 2 of the questions wrong, and I said, so then it allows you, I think it was 15 minutes, to go back to the chapter that you studied. And something stood out with me. And it was the temperature in which. So it's not just warm tap water. There's actually science behind it. So before I go any further, we're going to wash these eggs according to the guidelines. Now, it's not my science. It is the science of preservation. So you can go to the website and it will give you all the information you need to know. So the 2 things that would stand out, salmonella, that's what you would think, okay, salmonella. But have you ever heard of Campylobacter? And I'm gonna say it slow because it's a hard word even for me to pronounce. Campylobacter, okay? It is in the same host as salmonella, only it's a step above. Then you have the salmonella. Is it common? Yes and no. But I think it's because it's not common, it's because it's not a common word used. Most of the word used for bacteria-borne viruses is salmonella, okay? So I think that it is more broader brushed. It's just, not that it's been dumbed down, but it's not a word that actually people are familiar with as salmonella, okay? Now, how do you get that? 1, by not properly cleaning these eggs. Now, you can look at these eggs. This come out of the chicken coop. They look clean to the naked eye, but they have bloom on them. You know, you can kind of feel it dusting, you know, and I'm picking up various ones. Well, 1, to start with, is I clean my boxes out once a week. But I just dump it in the floor. Because remember, if y'all seen how I clean my chicken coop, which was a week ago, I just moved from one side to the other, swapping out pine shavings. So one key is weekly, take your nesting boxes, dump it out or dispose it, put some fresh bedding. You can use Saturday Lime and the DE like I use. In the bottom, put the shavings on top. But a lot of times, you know, no matter how clean the box is, you might, well, I don't have anything. Well, here's one. You might get a little residual of something, right? That's kind of gnarly. Maybe there's worse that you've seen, but we're being honest. We're talking about properly cleaning eggs. And yeah, I'm a hand wiper and a hand washer. So when I get through, this goes in the wash. So the first thing we have to do is clean these eggs. I'm gonna throw something out there. Now, y'all probably gonna Google and then leave it down in the comments. But right off the top of your head, and I'm gonna trust that you'll say, well, I didn't know that. And then some of you may. What is the temperature of a fresh laid egg? It's 105 degrees Fahrenheit. That was one of the questions I got wrong. When a chicken lays an egg, and if you look at this one I picked up, it's got some pine shavings on it, okay, gnarly. It's 105 degrees. Well, when we go to clean our eggs, we're gonna increase that temp. The worst thing you want to do when washing your eggs is just to have plain tap water, cool water. Because what that's gonna do is that's gonna take, and any bacteria on the outside that we just discussed is immediately gonna get absorbed into your egg. Whether that's farm raised or if it's coming from an egg company, there's science behind it. So if you're using just tap water, cool tap water, all you're doing is putting whatever's out here into the egg that you're gonna digest. And that is science on that. So yes, not only am I gonna share my knowledge, I'm also gonna share the questions that I failed on, because I didn't know the temperature of an egg that's freshly laid. So we're gonna move to the sink. I'm gonna get a little sip of coffee, and we're gonna take my mad science to the sink. And I use garbage pails. They're $1 at the Dollar Tree. You could use square ones, but they were $1, and when I wash them and disinfect them, I let them dry and I stack them out of the way. This is what I wash my eggs in. You're still with me, right? Now the first thing I want to do is have my hot water on, and I want to bring some temperature up. Now you can do it like a baby bottle or milk test on the back of your wrist is what I do. If you must temp check, it's going to be 110 degrees is what we're looking for. 110 to 120, I normally can test about 110 degrees by the back of my hand to 115. That's the first key of cleaning these eggs. So while that's getting hot, I'm gonna load my first trash bin up with my eggs. Here is my new towel. Now this is just tea towels. I have 2 of them, and I wash them in bleach and just let them air dry. I do swap those out every week. Now I'm adding a little bit of cold water because we have our water set a little on the high, but not the dangerous high. And I tell you what, that's where I want it. We're gonna temp check this just because. We're at 114, guys. Like I said, like if you were testing a baby bottle. And I'm just gonna cover these eggs with water, okay? And now I'm gonna fill this up about halfway. Now, if you feel that your eggs are old, you definitely need to water glass check them. You don't want any floaters. I know these are not even quite a week old, but you could put it in a glass, and if, you know, because on any egg, it's gonna have a point. If that egg's wanting to kind of float upwards or come completely vertical, that's not a good egg. And a lot of times if you're gonna use a large square pan, you'll notice it much easier than using the little trash waste baskets that I use. But I'm fine with my eggs because, like I said, they're not even a week old. I'm just gonna take my cloth and I am going to clean each egg. And I'm gonna examine them as I clean them. And it doesn't take long, guys. And yes, you see a lot splattering. Well, we're gonna clean afterwards, but I'm gonna show you what I clean with. There's one egg. And I do take my time and go around, because even though it looks clean on the outside, we don't have a microscope. And I have looked for square buckets that would actually fit the dimension of this sink. And I either buy them too large or they're just too small. So I just keep my little waste baskets until I can find the right one. What I should do is have Buddy measure my sink, and then I can take that measurement when I'm out and about at like a Dollar Tree or a Dollar General or Walmart somewhere, and hopefully find the perfect size bucket. But when we first got chickens, this is what I bought. They were $1 a piece. And even though it's a little difficult to maneuver your hand in here, it still gives you the gist of, don't put them in your sink. I mean, you can, I choose not to. Oh, and also, we have a friend that doesn't mind taking room temperature eggs. Him and his wife, they have 5 children. And as they use the eggs, they just run it under warm tap water, just like I showed y'all. So to clean a volume is because you're deliberately wanting to refrigerate them. A lot of times I just use mine with the bloom on, but before I use the egg, I do clean it under the warm tap water. But these needed to get put into the refrigerator because I got to deliver these to my daughter this weekend for a ball game. I'll take the rag, the stainless steel cloth, and I'm setting it in here, and I will be bleaching this, but I'm just going to set it to the side. Okay, we have got the first washing done. Now, this is easy to walk outside and dump, or I can carefully pour it down the drain with less splatter, which is what I'm doing now, because some of you may not be able to walk your bucket outside. I'm gonna bring it back up to that temperature, and I'm gonna actually fill it up. That would be a solid gallon. Remember, the key is a gallon of warm water. Okay, we've reached our gallon. Pure bleach. And you're thinking, oh my, of pure bleach. Now I'm gonna let this sit 2 minutes. And yes, we're about to use it with our eggs. I said, don't pause, don't click off. Guys, this is how you properly ensure that you're not leaving a bacteria behind. Now, one would hope that you would know if there's an egg that bubbles, like you see bubbles coming out of it, obviously it's got a crack in it, okay? These don't. There's not been a bubble one as these eggs have been sitting over here. So I know I don't have to inspect the eggs. I've moved them around, absolutely no little bubbles, because that would indicate you got a cracked egg, okay? This is how I do it. Miss Ruby, you asked. But we haven't got to the cleaning step yet. Yes, we're on the bleach, but we're not at the cleaning step. I know, it's crazy. So I've let this sit, and what I'm gonna do is drain this water out. And I'm gonna cover these eggs one more time. So here's the egg, pulling them out of the second batch of water. Done. Do you see how fast that was? It just took the video longer because I wanted to explain why I do what I do. Because once I learned that there's science behind the temperature of the laying egg and the right temperature that you clean your egg, and then what is recommended is that half a tablespoon in that 110 to 115 degree Fahrenheit water. You just, as you can see, I'm just tapping it in there and rinsing. That kills any bacteria that may be left behind, that the naked eye cannot see. What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna show y'all now how I clean this contaminated area, and that's actually what it is. It is a contaminated area, and what I use and why I use it. And because I'm not worried about eggs, I'm just gonna add a little glug. Okay, now while that one's sitting, I'm just gonna rinse this one out. Now it's time to disinfect. Even though I just dumped a gallon of bleached water down my drain and it kind of splashed in the sink, and on the other side, now it's time to really clean. And I use one step. Now this is formulated for kitchens, wine making, beer brewing companies, okay? This is a no rinse. I do rinse, but I rinse later. And this is going to kill germs and bacteria. Now, it's a tablespoon to a gallon. I put mine in a squirt bottle, and I do a teaspoon and a half. I kind of go a little bit above. But guys, this is some wonderful stuff. So let me show you. Now, I am going to spray these heavily. Now, you could use bleach if you so choose, but in my shop, I have to use this and then a pink formula for sanitizing in areas where food is prepared for a consumer. Well, I just bring some of that into my kitchen and I practice the same as if I was preparing these eggs for the consumer, my seasoning. I mean, if it's safe for my business, then I'm making it safer in my own kitchen. Anything that might have been sprayed on, move my paper towels, because we don't know what was splattered. But it says no rinse, but it's only activated after 2 or 3 minutes. It does have a hydrogen peroxide formula in it. So it gets activated and it works because of the air. The air is what's going to actually activate the safe ingredients in here, okay? It's what's going to make it start working. And you see, I've not used an awful lot. It just looks like it. Now, I'm gonna enjoy my coffee. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, wash my hands, enjoy my coffee, and I'm gonna let all of this sit about 5 minutes. Then we'll come back, clean it all up, and then we'll get our eggs packaged. Because right now, they're sitting on a drying towel. You want them dry. If they're not fully dry, just take your paper towel. You don't want to store wet eggs in your icebox. I got my hands clean. Now I don't feel guilty touching my coffee cup. I'm not going to lie, I took a Clorox wipe to the coffee handle. I'm just weird that way. So, let's back up. When I first started, y'all were thinking, oh, I'm not getting eggs. It sounds like this is too much. This is science. I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to hurt my family. I don't want to hurt nobody. And it kind of makes you feel a little gross. She's using words that could possibly be sitting, well, ain't no possibility. I mean, it's an egg. Came out of a chicken. Poultry. It's just, this sounds like too much work. So scratch the first 7 minutes of the video. All you have to worry about is either your sink, if you're comfortable with that, or a bucket. I'd recommend a square. I can't find one that fits this crazy, odd size sink. And all you're worried about is the temperature of the water, 110 degrees to 115 degrees Fahrenheit. You put your eggs in there, you wash them. You set them back over into the other one, let them sit there. And then you just pour it out, rinse, add a gallon of water, because make sure your container can hold a gallon of water, and a half a tablespoon of bleach. And then proceed. You saw how easy. You're just taking your eggs from its second batch of clean water, dunk immediately in the bleach solution, rinse well, and dry. So you can take everything I said off the table if you're just doing this for your family, immediate family, your friends. But if you're wanting to use eggs as a source of income, then by all means, take the steps to have your area cleaned well. Take the steps and ensure that your water temperature is correct. And do your research and see why it's that immediate dunk in that very little bleach solution and heavily rinse, which I do mine as the water is running rapid, and rinse. That's just my advice as a business owner, as someone that can go to bed knowing that I have done everything I know to do, and also a lot of common sense. If you see bubbles coming out of your egg, chunk the egg. If you're not sure the age of your eggs, water glass test it. If it's or in a bowl, will work just as fine, but you want a little bit deeper bowl, not something shallow. If the egg moves, wobbles, you know, they say weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. That applies to an egg. If it starts wanting to wobble or even stand straight at attention, chunk it. I mean, it's just common sense, you know. From one chicken grower, or should I say chicken raiser, to another. But we have new people, so don't let this video intimidate you. Just concentrate on not letting your eggs sit like a month at a time or a month and a half. I feel that after a week, that's just my comfort, I'm putting mine into the refrigerator and label them, and I'm going to use the oldest ones first. And if they're questionable, I will just water glass test them. And I have found maybe 3 in the 3 years I've had this. So I think by just staying on top of them, you're already off to the races anyway. But Miss Ruby, you wanted to know how I clean mine. This is how I do it. And all the mumbo jumbo of where I learned the proper way probably doesn't apply to you, darling, because you're not running a business. But if you have a cottage, if you're selling baked goods and you're using eggs, take that little extra step. So let's get this cleaned up. Like I said, right now, I could just hand dry it because it's the air that actually activates the ingredients for it to clean. But I do go ahead and just rinse, and I take a paper towel and I dry everything out. I love these labels because they peel right off. Whoops. Now this is a 2 dozen. Now, I don't think I have quite enough, but by the time I'll harvest eggs the next 2-3 days, I will have a full 2 dozen. And so my daughter knows this. I'm not worried about what I package or what I harvest tomorrow or Friday. I'm 8 eggs short. Not a big deal. I will get 4 to 5 tonight. I'll get the rest Thursday, and I'll just go ahead and wash them up for her. And she will have 2 dozen eggs this Saturday when we go watch the grandson play his very first game of football, which is tag. I think they had a scrimmage yesterday, but his actual real game. But whatever you do, whether it's just water to water, you know, warm water, rinse, done, fine. Just don't use cool tap water. That's the biggest no-no you could do. But other than that, get you some chickens. They will profit you because you know what you're feeding. You know the age of those eggs, and you know that you have properly cleaned them. I think I'll always have chickens for the rest of my days after hearing what's out there these days. But as always, stay safe, stay well, and God bless, and I will see you guys on the next one.